In a surprising and almost inconceivable turn of events, the Denver Nuggets have erased their second 3-1 series deficit of the playoffs, this time against what people consider widely the favorites to win the championship, LA Clippers, in a blowout 104-89 win. So do you think that this gives Kawhi Leonard any regrets about his choice of the Clippers in free agency last year? Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Hour Sports, where we're on the train to 500 subscribers. So if you enjoy the video, you like what you see, and you want more NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the movement of the channel. But getting into the Game 7 that happened last night, a very, very entertaining Game 7 if you were a neutral. Not an entertaining game if you were a guy who wanted Kawhi versus LeBron in the conference finals, or if you are a Clippers fan. And I was a guy who did want to see a all LA conference finals. I think we all did. What a series that was poised to be. But the Denver Nuggets claw back from the death yet again to win this game and pull off the first team in NBA history to pull off two 3-1 series deficit and overcome it to win the series. I can't believe they did it. I can't believe it. I thought the Clippers were just going to wipe them clean in 5 or 6. We weren't even going to get the Game 7. And all of a sudden, we're stood here talking about the Denver Nuggets playing the Los Angeles Lakers in the conference finals. And biggest story, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George do not show up to play Game 7. They were horrible, absolutely horrible throughout the game. Kawhi Leonard shot 6 for 22 from the field throughout the entirety of Game 7, and Paul George shot 4 for 16. Pandemic P was back in the house. He was terrible and hit the side of the backboard on a late Game 3 that possibly could have brought the Clippers back within some hope, but the side of the backboard on a wide open, uncontested corner 3. Also, you want to throw in Lou Williams was also a 3 for 11 shooting night for him. So horrible shooting from the stars and the superstars in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard for the Los Angeles Clippers. On the other hand, Jamal Murray was balling. 40 points, 20 points in the second quarter, and I believe the commentator said during the game, don't quote me for this, but I believe they said that is the most, 20 points is the most points in one quarter of a Game 7 since that stat started being tracked in the NBA. Absolutely phenomenal for the Canadian boy. I'm very happy for him. And also, Nikola Jokic was balling. I think that Jokic was the best player on the court in Game 7 the way he played. I know he didn't put up a ton of points, but he did have a very nice triple-double. 16 points is very nice, 13 assists for the big man, and 22 rebounds. Absolutely phenomenal. It wasn't just, the rebounds, wasn't just the scoring, because he didn't shoot tremendously, but the way Jokic could manipulate the Clippers defense into, moving the pieces around and then having the ability to see the pass is unbelievable for a big man like Nikola Jokic. The passes he was pulling off, especially in the third quarter, right when Denver started to pull away. They had a great third and fourth quarter, but the third quarter is the most important quarter of the game for what happened in that game because Denver really took advantage of the game. They started picking the Clippers defense apart, and it was Jokic who was pulling the strings, making some amazing dishes to get the Nuggets some buckets. I thought he was the best player on the court. I can't. If you watch that game and you don't think Nikola Jokic is the best center in the NBA, there is something wrong with you. It's a complete head scratcher if you think that Joel Embiid is better than Nikola Jokic, because Jokic is way better on the perimeter than Joel Embiid. He is a way better dribbler of the ball. He is a better facilitator and passer of the basketball. Like, his vision for a big man is absolutely tremendous. He's basically just a tick down on what Embiid can do in the paint, if not right there at the level of Embiid in the paint. And his only real criticism is that he's not as good of a defender as Joel Embiid, but Jokic, still a great defender. It's ludicrous to say that guy is not the best center in the NBA, especially after seeing what he just did in the playoffs, which we haven't seen from Joel Embiid yet at all throughout his career. So the bottom line of this game is that the best two players on the court both played for Denver. And when you have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on your team, that can't happen. You went all out to get Kawhi in free agency, and then you traded away the entire future of your franchise for Paul George, who still continues to struggle in the playoffs. He still can't quite push on in any playoff series, no matter how good his team is. I know with Indiana, they got, second round once, never really fully progressed. Maybe they got to a conference final once, but then went to OKC, were upset in the first round, lost in 5 to the Portland Trailblazers when you really thought OKC could take advantage of that matchup. And then Paul George this year does not show up really at all. He had a couple good games, but overall, a disastrous display from Paul George throughout the entire playoffs, which is, again, very worrying for a Clippers team who traded away so many first and second round picks, as well as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as well as Danilo Gallinari. Traded away so many assets to get a guy who isn't going to show up in game 7s like this. I mean, maybe he'll improve next year, but we're starting to see signs that worry us about Paul George and his ability to produce those superstar levels in the playoffs. I mean, this guy was a finalist for the MVP last year. He can't be doing that. Kawhi Leonard was a finals MVP last year, but shot 6 for 22. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined for 0 of 11 shooting in the fourth quarter. That's where you need to make your money, the fourth quarter, and both guys did not hit a shot. They were 0 for 7 from 3 as well. They assed it up in the fourth quarter, and Denver were already in the lead. It was a blowout win. The Clippers weren't even close. So here's the difference from Toronto and LA, the Clippers that is. When Kawhi Leonard didn't quite have a tremendous all-star, superstar performance night in the playoffs, there were other players to pick up the pieces. Like if you look at Game 6 of the NBA Finals, the most important game in the Toronto Raptors franchise history. They win the NBA championship. Kawhi Leonard had 22 points, but Pascal Siakam had 26 points. Kyle Lowry had 26 points. Fred VanVleet had 22 points as well. Serge Ibaka had 15 points. There's so many other guys with humongous contributions to the offense for the Toronto Raptors. And that is why they won an NBA championship, because with all of these great pieces, as well as having a great guy in Kawhi Leonard, who you didn't need to rely on completely. Didn't have full, complete focus on Kawhi Leonard in your offense. And on defense, Kawhi Leonard was a tremendous defender, but the Toronto Raptors showed this year, being one of the top 2 defenses in the NBA, even without Kawhi Leonard, that they were great on defense. Like Fred VanVleet led the league in deflections per game, and I think was 3rd in steals per game. Kyle Lowry is always going to be 1st in charges drawn in the league, which are huge to reverse possessions. Pascal Siakam, even though he was horrible on offense in this playoffs, was still great on defense. Marc Gasol, a former defensive player of the year. Serge Ibaka is top 8 all time in blocks in the playoffs. So many defensive pieces all together on the Raptors who could also turn it into offense. And there were so many guys who could have a big night. And it wasn't just Kawhi Leonard who carried them there. And I think people need to start seeing that. I think that the question needs to be asked is, people always say that Toronto needed Kawhi in order to win a championship. Well, did Kawhi need Toronto to go and win that championship as well? Because how many places could he have gone to when he got traded from San Antonio where he really would have gone and won a championship, other than Golden State, who already had KD, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson? Other than that, where could he have gone that was where, yes, that team is going to win a championship? Toronto ended up being that team. And Kawhi Leonard leaves, and both Toronto and Kawhi are done in the second round of the playoffs, both in 7 games. I think that this Raptors team this year had all the pieces they needed to go on a deep playoff run and win a championship. It was an absolute shame that Pascal Siakam didn't show up in the playoffs, and the Boston Celtics deservedly moved on to the conference finals, where they lose game 1 to an incredible Bam Adebayo block, which I just wanted to bring up. But imagine this Toronto Raptors team, who already had what they needed to go win a back-to-back championship, even without Kawhi Leonard. Imagine that team now with Kawhi Leonard. That's got to be a team that either runs it back or almost runs it back for a championship. So did Kawhi make the right choice in free agency? Well, for his personal reasons, sure. He wanted to move back to LA, and he was still on a very, very competitive basketball team. He could have gone to the Lakers, where, almost guaranteed championship, Kawhi, LeBron, and AD. but didn't want to just unbalance the NBA and just have a guaranteed championship. Wanted to earn it, wanted to take LeBron's crown. But imagine if LeBron had done this, 6 for 22 shooting performance. Imagine LeBron did this in a Game 7. He would never, ever hear the end of it. Imagine he went combined 0 for 11 with AD in the Game 7 of a playoff game. LeBron would never hear the end of it. Like, Kawhi is not put under the same pressure and under the same scrutiny as LeBron James. And surely after a performance like this, you really have to look at that. Like, all you guys who are saying Kawhi Leonard is better than LeBron James, really have a look at this performance. And if you watch the game, really understand what you just saw. Because Kawhi Leonard, when other pieces weren't really helping him and making the game come to him easier, he faltered. And I know it's just one bad performance, but still, you got to hold Kawhi Leonard to this superstar standard. And Game 7 wasn't good enough because he got outperformed by Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, and the Nuggets absolutely deserved to win this series after the performances they displayed in Games 5, 6, and 7. Coming back from not only that 3-1 series deficit, but losing by high double digits in both Game 5 and Game 6, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were down by 10 at one point in the second quarter of Game 7 as well. So the Nuggets absolutely deserve for the fight that they showed and the performances, the unbelievable performances by Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. Kawhi, I don't think is going to be having, a ton of regret about leaving Toronto. Maybe if he really didn't want to be there, whatever. But the Clippers got to have some regret in going all out to get Kawhi and then selling away their entire future of their franchise to get Paul George. There has to be, Steve Ballmer really has to be thinking about that decision today when he wakes up. So quickly to end off the video, Kawhi Leonard does not regret his decision to go to the Clippers, but I think he must recognize at this point his better chance to win a championship was staying in Toronto. The Lakers and Nuggets face each other off in the Western Conference Final. I think that the Lakers are going to love this matchup. They're going to love that the Clippers lost. They are going to think that they are the heavy favorites, and I agree, to come out of this series. Lakers in 6 for myself. As far as the Heat and Celtics series goes, I think we see a 7-game series that the Boston Celtics win. I felt Boston were the better team in Game 1. A late comeback by Miami really stirs them onto victory, and even some clutch shots from Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler really put themselves in the position to win, as well as a game-winning block from Bam Adebayo as Jason Tatum tried to throw him on his poster, but insane block by Bam. But still, I thought Boston Celtics were the better team in the game, just slightly. It's going to be a very tight series, but I think they have the better team overall and will win this series in 7. So if that's the case, we see a Lakers-Boston final. My ideal world is LeBron on the Lakers playing against the old team Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. That's what I want to see, but whatever we see is going to be great basketball. I'm so happy we have it back and we were able to see the playoffs. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please like the video if you did enjoy it at any point, and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this, NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors. Like I said, we are trying to get 500 subscribers on the channel, so if you did enjoy the video and you want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for watching. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We will see you again next time for another video.